Hey everyone, welcome to Keller Acres. Today I'm going to be showing you how to dehydrate your sourdough starter. So, reasons for doing this are number one, if something happens to your starter, you have backup. So if you have a well-established starter, you just don't want to risk losing it. At least I don't. I started mine in 2021. It's now 2025. Somehow I have made it this long, nothing has happened, but you just never know. And if something did happen, I would hate to have to start all the way over. So having some dehydrated just to have on hand, just in case, I think is a really great idea. Also, it's a really much less messy way to gift it to someone. So if you have a friend that wants some of your sourdough starter because they want to go ahead and try making some sourdough, you can obviously gift it to them just like this. But if you, being liquidy, it's a little bit messier to gift. Whereas if you gift it to them dehydrated, it's less messy. Also, if they're not wanting to use it right away, they don't have to worry about feeding it and keeping it up in the meantime. They can just go ahead and rehydrate it and get it going once they're ready. So let's get started. You just need sourdough starter, a sheet pan lined with some parchment paper, and we're just going to be spreading it out on this parchment paper really, really thin. So I'm just going to pour it out. I've got a little over a cup here. It doesn't matter how much you're using. I mean, whatever amount. I swear I had a spatula out and I don't know where it went. Now you can use your spatula, or I'm going to start with my bench scraper and just spread it out as evenly as you can and really, really thin. You want it to be thin so it'll dry out a little bit faster. A great thing about doing this right now, it's January, doing this in the winter or spring, since you have to let this sit out on your counter, is really great because there's no little pesky fruit flies flying around your house. Because if there were, they would be landing in this and that just wouldn't work very well. So spring and winter are the best times to do this. You can try doing it in the summer, but again, you're probably gonna end up with little bugs in your starter. They definitely attract it. Also, it's less humid this time of year, so it'll dry out faster. Then it's just gonna sit on your counter till it gets dry and brittle, which I'm betting by tomorrow this will be done. But I'll let you know exactly how long mine takes to dry out. Then once it dries out, we're just gonna be breaking it into pieces and storing it in a jar, or you can also blend it into a powder, whichever you want to do. I haven't decided if I'm going to blend mine yet or just leave it. I think I'm just going to leave it in pieces. So this little over a cup definitely needs this whole cookie sheet length. Okay, now I'll just be leaving this on my counter. Once this is dried out, then we'll go over the exact process to rehydrate it. And I think a really cute idea if you're gifting this to someone is you could put either the powder or the pieces in a jar for them and then just label it, and on the label you can just write down the directions, or you could have a little card attached to it. You know, there's lots of fun ways you can gift this to make sure that the person receiving it knows exactly what they need to do to get this going so they can make their own sourdough. Okay, my sourdough starter is all nice and dried. This took 4 days. Took a little longer than I thought it would. As you can see, it just kind of pulls right up off of that parchment paper when it's all done. So I'm gonna break this into pieces and put it here in my jar. You can also grind this into a fine powder if you prefer, but for now, I'm just gonna do mine like this. Then rehydrating the starter is really simple. You just add flour and water. So take approximately 10 grams of starter, add 50 grams of warm water, let the starter dissolve into that water first. Once it's dissolved into the water, then add in an equal portion of flour, an equal weight to your water, so approximately 50 grams of flour. Stir that, let it set for 12 hours or so, see how it's doing. Kind of like you would your normal starter, you're just feeding it. And then, if it's not bubbly and active yet, then you would want to do that process again. Could take 2 to 3 days, just depends. Also, it depends on how active your starter is when you dehydrate it. So the more active your starter when you dehydrate it, then the faster it is to wake it back up. I would just suggest, if you're gifting this to someone, make a little card or a little label for the jar so they know how to get it going. If they're not familiar with sourdough and the feeding process, if you're already, if you're dehydrating starter, then obviously you have some in you're familiar with the feeding process, so you know how to get that going. Here it is. I'm going to be just sticking a lid on here and keeping this in the pantry. This should store, I've seen different things. I've seen indefinitely, I've seen a few years. So anyway, long term, keep it out of light, just in a cool, dark place. All right, I did make a little label for mine. It's not the best. I have these labels. They came with some little bottles we bought for vanilla extract. The only thing I don't like about them, I'm gonna look for some white labels that I can use a black marker on. This white marker thing that came with it, it's easy to smudge, so I think a white label will be better. But for now, I went ahead and put this on there and just add 50 grams of water to 10 grams of starter, dissolve, add 50 grams of flour. So you can do that however, or I think you'd like a cute little card if you're gifting it. You could put a little ribbon around here and attach the card to that. That would be super cute. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Watch for a future video on me rehydrating this, just to show you that process too. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you're enjoying our videos and give us a like.